bonjour, bienvenue. So we're looking at the word pouvoir, and I'm going to give you a little bit of context about how pouvoir works before we talk about where you'd use it and all the different places where you'd find it really useful for you. And at the moment, you might have quite a limited view actually of where you can use pouvoir, and I hope that at the end of this series of tutos that you'll realise that, or you'll find out that it is actually a really useful high frequency verb that it would be great if you felt really confident with. Now, one of the things that I find people tripping over with in live classes is that pouvoir and other verbs that work like it always go with a second verb with an infinitive. And this concept is quite difficult, I think, for to land, and particularly when it seems when we're talking about ER verbs. But it is actually really simple, and I think sometimes the really simple things that we learn in French, we kind of think, where's the catch? It must be more complicated than that. And so we kind of overthink it and we sort of like apply a different logic. But actually, the logic is really simple. So I hope I can show that to you in this tuto today. So pouvoir ends in OIR, you can see that, yes? And so it belongs to a group of verbs that also end in OIR, and they're they're a real powerhouse. They're things that you'll use all over the place to express a number of different things. And they're called, it's a family of verbs, you can call them OIR verbs if you like, or you can call them modal verbs. They're extremely high frequency verbs. So there you go, you can see them: pouvoir, vouloir, devoir, falloir, savoir. And if you look in your Becherel, you'll probably find that they're all fairly close together. So they all end in OIR, and they have different pages in your Becherel. But the thing that they have in common is that they require a second verb that's going to be an infinitive. We'll see that in a second. Um, so let me show you actually how that works. Okay, so we'll stick with pouvoir for a minute. So pouvoir, to be able to. Actually, let's see what they each mean. So pouvoir means possibility, ability, or permission. This is very top line. I'm just sort of like painting a top line picture because we know that we're going to drill into it and we're going to find more interesting and diverse ways that we can use this. So very top line. Pouvoir is for possibility, ability, and permission. Vouloir for desire or intention, devoir for obligation, falloir for necessity. But if you've just studied falloir, which is just something that's just recently been added to the vocab library, then you might say, oh, there's a lot more to falloir than that, and you'd be right. And savoir, knowing how to. And by the way, a note on savoir. Savoir belongs in this group of verbs with the OIR, modal verbs. If you put it side by side in your system, in your mind with connaître, see if you can now tear it apart, separate it and put it in this group. And I expect that you'll find that you don't mix it up quite so often with connaître. But this isn't about the whole group. It's just to let you know that pouvoir sits within a family of verbs, and they're called modal verbs. And so the understanding the way this functions will also help you function with all of these other verbs. So you get a massive bang for your buck in terms of like understanding the functioning or the grammar. So if we look at manger, for example, that's an infinitive there, to eat. And with a modal verb relationship, the p tells us about the pouvoir, the possibility, the ability, or the permission side of things in the phrase, and the manger is the action. And so the second verb is in an infinitive. Now, infinitives are a friend. A friend. Whenever you hear that word infinitive, some people struggle with that. Just think about it as infinity and beyond. It's the top. It's the top of the verb. It's what you look at in the back of the Becherel in the index. I'm always flashing this book up at you, aren't I? At the back, in the index, you're going to see the infinitives. Now you don't have to go and look up the page of the thing that you'll find, the verb that you'll find the infinitive of, because you don't have to do anything to it. Literally, you learn a verb, you find a verb, you use it for the first time, you literally stick it in behind pouvoir and these other modal verbs. You do nothing to it. So you don't need to understand it at any deep level in terms of how it's conjugated. There's no conjugation involved. The only conjugation that's involved is the pouvoir, etc. piece. Because that's the bit that's telling us the interesting part of the conversation of the sentence, which is telling us what it is about manger. So je peux manger, can I eat? Yes. And the eat bit. Now, if you're stuck in translation mode, you'll never find the infinitive because it doesn't work like that in English. So pouvoir is a really great opportunity if you find yourself translating pouvoir, or you're working on sort of like stopping translation because it only takes you sort of like down quite a lot of rabbit holes, really. So if you're working hard at that, pouvoir is a fantastic vehicle to help you to break that mold. Okay, so look at I've put all the modal verbs there. Je peux manger, je veux manger, je dois manger, il faut manger, je sais manger. So all the way through, we've got the infinitive there, and it's just with the modal verb. Okay, so that's modal verbs. I'm going to scroll down here now. Oh, actually, I thought I only had pouvoir down here, but I've got the whole shooting match. But that's okay. That's all right. But it's still a question of two. This is how modal verb works. So two verbs, two roles. Okay. So if we look down here, we've got the highlighted use of the verb, of the modal verb. So pourrait will come from pouvoir, voulait comes from vouloir, devra comes from devoir, savions from savoir, pourriez pouvoir, ont dû devoir, et faudra falloir. Okay. Those are the infinitives. Now that is when you're drilling down into each of those pages, you're going to find those conjugations. Some of those will be easy for you to pick up and use, and some of them you may be new to you. And that's fine. That's fine. Because you could just stay with the present tense. You could say je peux. If I look at these sentences, if I just replace the pourrait, je peux, tu veux, elle doit, nous savons, vous pouvez, ils doivent, il faut. I could just stay in the present if I wanted to. But this is just moving around the tenses because, you might be at that stage where you want to move around the tenses. But notice it's the modal verb that's doing the you've got to have the knowledge of the conjugation from the modal verb. But then once you get to the action, look, passer, prendre, faire, utiliser, fermer, réserver, prévoir, they are all infinitives, yes? So all of these pieces where we've used the modal, it tells us about the possibility, desire, obligation, necessity, the knowing how, but the second verb carries the action, yes? So they would be passer, prendre, etc. Now they are carrying the action. So the second verb stays in the infinitive. We don't change it. So let's have a look. So the sentence. Je pourrais passer vous voir demain après-midi si vous êtes encore à la maison. Okay, now one of the things that I notice when I'm listening to you in class is that sometimes you're good at really hearing a sound and repeating a sound like je peux dire, je peux faire, je peux prendre. You've got it in your ear and you can repeat that and it just comes out as the infinitive. But the minute it comes to an ER verb, there seems to be, you want to conjugate it. So it's passé, finish the verb, finish the verb. Now, this might be a hangover from when you were a beginner with me, I would be saying to you, don't say je passé when you're talking in the present tense. But you know why that is. You know why that is because if you look at the conjugation of an ER verb, je passe, tu passes, il passe, there's no A sound. But we've got an ER here. We got an ER, so we are on the infinitive, and so we get that sound. So je pourrais passer vous voir demain après-midi si vous êtes encore à la maison. Tu voulais prendre le train de bonne heure pour arriver avant. Tu voulais prendre le train de bonne heure pour arriver avant le déjeuner? Elle devra faire attention en descendant du bus parce que le trottoir est très étroit. Okay, so notice I put them into italics for you, but in a normal sentence, we haven't got a bold and italic. It's just part of the same piece. Also, we'd like these to run together if we can because they're one single idea. We don't want to break it at nous savions and then déjà utilisé. We don't want to break those. We want that to be nous savions déjà utiliser cette machine avant de commencer la formation. Vous pourriez fermer la fenêtre avant de partir, s'il vous plaît? Ils ont dû réserver une table plusieurs semaines à l'avance pour le samedi soir. Il faudra prévoir un peu plus de temps si nous passons par le centre-ville. So, you know what I'm going to suggest that you do? I suggest that you can play with the whole shooting match of all of the modal verbs, if you like, just to get a sense of where pouvoir sits in terms of how it functions. So that would be a case of getting into your Becherel, looking up pouvoir and the rest of the family of the OIR verbs, modal verbs in here, and then making some sentences and being really clear about having your infinitive second. Now, you probably say, oh, yeah, well, when I write it down, Ellie, I don't have any problem whatsoever. In that case, write them down, say them out loud when you're looking at them, and then spend your week saying them out loud. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And it might be that it's mainly the ER verb sounds that you need to repeat. But keep on at it. Give your brain the best opportunity possible to recognize that this is the correct sound. This is the correct collection of sounds, if you like. So I'll leave you with a final thought. Only pouvoir or the modal verb changes. The verb carrying the action stays in the infinitive. Merci d'être là. À bientôt. Merci. Au revoir. Bye.